I'd rather die before that time and not endure the suffering that is to come prior to Mashiach.
When we have afflictions and we have stress and we have problems, it's given to us by Hashem. But we're asking for Him to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little...
So this is a very important question. I'm going to repeat your question. We recognize that the afflictions come from Hashem and therefore they have a positive outcome. So if we recognize that they have a positive outcome, why are we asking for God to remove them? There definitely are positive benefits to suffering that the Gemara discusses. However, in the same context, the Gemara tells us a number of stories of sages who suffered from one affliction or another, a sickness or whatnot, and in conversation with one another, one of the sages would say to the other, he says, Chavivan alecha yisurin, tell me, Chavivan alecha yisurin, are sufferings beloved to you? And the sage who was suffering answered back, Lo heim velo scharam, not they nor their reward. Meaning, I would rather not suffer and not get the benefit of the suffering. I would just rather not have it. And so, the story I'm thinking of in particular is Rabbi Yochanan visits Rabbi Elazar, and he says this to him, and Rabbi Elazar says, I don't want it. So Rabbi Yochanan heals him. He takes away his sickness, right? So, it seems even the greatest of the great said, I get it that there is a benefit, but I would rather not go through the suffering and not have that benefit. Now, if a great sage could say that, then all of us, certainly, I mentioned another class that Ula says in a certain place, another one of the sages of the Gemara, Ula says, of course I want Mashiach to come, and I understand that it's going to come through birth pangs, but let me not see it, right? I'd rather die before that time and not endure the suffering that is to come prior to Mashiach, right? And we explained that in that class, so I'm not going to rehash it. But you see that nobody is asking for trouble. Nobody wants to go through pain. And what I'm going to say right now is a very, very important idea. And when it comes to tests, no one should ever put themselves in a test knowingly, wittingly, purposefully. And no one should ever ask for a test. No one should ever ask for a test. Because, yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly what we need. And He'll give us exactly what we need when we need it, whether that's going to be enjoyable for us or not. But He knows and we don't know. So if we sort of run straight on into the firing line, we could do a lot of harm to ourselves. We're not meant to embrace these things and look for trouble. Let HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide when it's our time to face something difficult. But that's not for us to do. Hashem doesn't give a test that you can't pass, right? There's a very important wording to that phrase. Hashem doesn't give you a test you can't pass, but a person can set himself up for failure by putting themselves in a test that they can't pass. Let Hashem do it. Don't try to do it yourself. David HaMelech asked Hashem, he said, Hashem he's called God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. And he's not called God of David, Elkei David. And he asks, why not? What am I lacking that you can't be called by my name as well? And Hashem says to him, they were tested and you weren't tested. So he says, test me. So test me. And then who comes into view but Bathsheba, right? So, and we know that didn't go well for David. And despite the fact that the Gemara says that David HaMelech didn't sin, we see in the text that he's heavily criticized by the prophet. Hashem says what David did was evil in the eyes of Hashem, and Nathan the prophet comes to him and castigates him, and he says, Chatasi la Hashem, I have sinned to God. So he did something wrong, right? And he said about himself, Chatasi, that I sinned. If we had the time, which we don't, because it's a very big topic, to examine the episode of David and Bathsheba and see how we can clear him of all sin from the text. We can clear him all, so we really can. But so what was the problem? So what did he do that was wrong? Now you need commentaries to explain what he did wrong. In other words, because clearly something. So some say it was in asking for the test. That's what he did wrong. You don't ask for a test because you're not capable of gauging for yourself what you can handle and what you can't handle. Leave that to Hashem. So we don't want a test. We try to avoid them. Lohem v'lo scharam. We don't want them, and we don't want what rewards they bring with them. We don't know how much we can endure. Not they nor their reward.